Hello and welcome to Season 4 of the Soundstage Audiophile Podcast. For the past few years, host Jorden Guth has been learning about the who, the what, and the when of hi-fi from the pioneers who made our hobby what it is today, as well as the modern innovators who are constantly striving to push performance to new levels. That's not going to change, but this year he'll also be learning about the other two W's, where your favorite gear is made these days, and why. So with that out of the way, let's see who Jorden is chatting with this time around.
Hello and welcome to the Soundstage Audiophile Podcast. Today we are in Whitby, Ontario, just outside of Toronto, with James Tanner, the CEO of Bryston Audio. We're actually in James's home in one of the multiple listening areas to highlight the Bryston stuff. And I think this is a great kind of opportunity to talk about the 50-year anniversary of Bryston and all kinds of different stuff in the world of Bryston, and how that impacts people that are into hi-fi. So welcome, James. Thanks for having us over.
Well, thanks for coming by. It's nice to see you guys.
Yeah. I guess to start, before we even get into the Bryston stuff, tell me a little bit about these spaces, because it is, I wasn't really expecting to literally have two, and you mentioned there was a third, but two demo rooms in your home.
Yeah. I have three demo rooms, one and basically the same front ends. So the electronics tend to be the same. But if distributors drop in or dealers or even customers want to come over and listen to things, I can take them into the room. The room upstairs is more of like a small bedroom. So it'll have like a smaller set of speakers, obviously. And then the video system has a larger system with a big screen and all that. And then now we're in the main room, which is typically where I do most of my listening and most of my evaluating. When we're designing new products and things, I'm sort of the last guy in the line that sits down and listens to the product and says, yay, let's do it, or no, we need more work on that. And so everything kind of happens in this room at the end.
That's super cool. And like, for those that aren't seeing the space, I find it absolutely fascinating, because not only is there a huge selection of different Bryston products, I'm also seeing vinyl and CDs, a huge kind of music collection that is just really cool to kind of witness in person.
Did you notice Beethoven over in the corner there?
I didn't.
Have a look.
Oh, that's amazing. We got a bust of Beethoven with a Bryston hat on.
And a pair of earphones.
And a pair of headphones, yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did actually record a podcast. It was over a year ago now. Almost closer to 2. I don't remember exactly.
It was a while back, yeah.
Yeah, it was a while back. And we did get into kind of the history of Bryston, and we went into a lot of detail. So for anyone that's listening that kind of wants the full story, I can recommend, and we can add in the show notes to go and listen to that. But for everyone else that might be jumping in and kind of just wants a quick little recap, give me the quick little synopsis of the 5-minute spiel on how Bryston actually came to be.
Yeah, it's interesting in the sense that the problem a lot of your listeners are going to have is that we're going back 50 years. And so some of the names and some of the things I'll discuss with you probably have no relevance. So bottom line was I was an audiophile, and I had a pair of, in those days, was a high-end electrostatic speakers. And I had a Dynaco 400, which, again, you probably won't know. And it just wouldn't drive it. So I went to a hi-fi store and I said, is there anybody you know that could modify this amp for me? And he said, there's this guy who works for his dad. The company's called Bryston. You can go there and maybe have him do your modification. So I take this Dyna 400 in. I meet Chris Russell. And he says, yeah, I can help you out, James. So he ended up doubling the output stage and adding some capacitance. And sure enough, it did a really good job. So we got chatting. He worked for his father. I don't know if people know this or not, but the Bryston initially started in 1962, but it was a they built blood analyzers. It was medical equipment. Yeah. So he had a little corner of the factory, and he did this modification for me. And then he said he had an amplifier that he thought would work in the market, and it was called a Pro 3 at the time. Long story short, there was a recording studio downtown Toronto called Eastern Sound, and they were doing a shootout on 10 different amplifiers. And again, you won't recognize, well, you will. Marantz 500s, you'll recognize Dunlop Clark, Crown, all the biggies of the day. And we took this little 100 watt per channel Pro 3 down there, and we won. All the guys there loved the sound of this thing. So we thought, okay, let's go back and ask Dad if we can build a few more. They ordered 10. So we went back and we did a few more, and it took off. But the big change came we went to Chicago in whenever the hell it was. And we took the first of the 4Bs. And show you how naive we were. We wandered around the show trying to get people to try our amplifier. You'd wander into the room and say, hey, can you do this? As luck would have it, there was a gentleman named John Dahlquist who had a loudspeaker called Dahlquist, which was the rave of the day. And he said, come on back after the show's over and we'll have a listen. We took it back. He loved it. And Peter Excel from Audio Critic happened to be in the room. And he said to us, so who the hell are you guys? And, why should I pay attention? And I said, because we had run an ad in his magazine that said the best amplifier in the world. So he was critical as hell with us. We thought, oh, shit. He said, well, you want me to review the amp? We said, sure. So we sent him a 4B and we thought we're going to get killed because he's just, our attitude was just bad. So anyway, the issue came out. We all rushed to the store. We picked up an issue, opened it up, and it said, they're right. It is the best amplifier in the world.
Yeah, I love that. I love that story so much. That's great.
So that was, and I would say within 3 years, we went from medical electronics to strictly building amplifiers.
That's amazing. That is an amazing pivot.
Yeah.
And it's a great story because it's just all these coincidences that kind of build on one another and allow you to get to where you are today.
Exactly.
So that was the early beginnings, again, 50 years ago. So kind of doing the quick path through the ages. Another one of the milestones, and there's a lot of them. For the full details, I recommend that other podcast because we go into a lot more.
Right.
But fast forward to mid 2000s and Bryston gets acquired, or late 2000s.
Oh, when Ian bought the company, you mean? Yeah. Basically what happened there, it was sad, actually. Brian Russell, who'd been, Ryan, Chris, and I were the owners. And Brian passed away in his sleep. And Chris came to me and just said that, he was thinking of retiring and would I be interested in buying the shares? I said, I'm too old to buy shares. So Ian Calhoun from Calhoun Audio had been doing from Axiom Audio, had been doing our speakers. So I called Ian and I said, Ian, would you be interested in joining with me and putting the companies together and going that way? And he agreed. He said, yeah, that's a great idea. So that's how it kind of evolved. And we just bought Chris's shares out at that point.
And that was 2018?
That was Brian passed away in 2020. So that would have been 2021.
2021. Okay.
Yeah, so 5 years ago, roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from there, we were kind of getting close to the 50th anniversary. And I think we talked about this last time. We were kind of on the cusp of your 50th anniversary.
Yeah, it depends on what you consider the first amp and what you consider to be when did you actually become an amplifier company? Because, the company was 62.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you're 60 years.
Yeah.
60 plus, actually. But the first real amplifier was the 4B in terms of getting into the market and being an audio company. And that's 50 years. That was, 76, I guess it would have been.
If you peg it from the moment that you landed that ad in the magazine and then got the review that justified the ad.
Yeah.
That
would have been 76. So that's 50 years as of now.
There you go. Okay. So for the 50th anniversary, congratulations, by the way. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah.
50th anniversary, you released a couple of products.
Yeah, we decided that we wanted to do something to obviously mark the milestone in some way. And we just decided that probably our biggest selling products typically are our amplifiers, obviously, and then closely followed by the BP19, which is our analog preamp. So we decided we would do the just two models. We do the 28B, which is our biggest amplifier, most powerful amplifier, and monoblocks. And we would do the BP19, and we would just do some cosmetic changes. I called Chris Russell and said, would you be willing to put your name on the front of it? And he agreed to that. And we did, so we've done like a 50 logo on the front, and we've done his signature on the front because a lot of people put them on the back, and why bother? Yeah. So we put it on the front, and we rounded the corners. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. I have a Facebook page, and when I posted it on the Facebook page with the new look, one of the customers emailed me and said, James, I hope you're not cutting corners. So I thought that was a great comeback. And so basically, they're identical in terms of performance to what the current BP19 and the 28Bs are, but it has this new cosmetic and the signed. So we're going to do 50 units only of each. There has a situation that's come up where they said you have to buy them as a system, like they have to buy the amps.
Oh, both of them together.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We just said you can buy what you want, but we're going to only do 50.
Gotcha.
Of the units, and then we'll go from there. But from a performance standpoint, they're identical.
Well, in you kind of we talked about this a little bit before we started, but I think the thinking behind it and kind of what you said was you designed the best product.
Mm-hmm.
If there was other changes that you would make to enhance the product, why would you just hold that for an anniversary edition?
Exactly. Yeah. It was more a milestone. And what we're finding is that, basically it's about a 7 or 8 year shift when you look at the technologies that are available. When you look back 50 years, what was available to us in the technology to build a really good amplifier versus what's available today, the window's getting longer and longer as opposed to shorter and shorter.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's not like every day a new device comes out that, a new output device is available kind of thing. Yeah. And Class D is becoming a big thing as well. So the technologies are shifting a little bit, but if we could build a better amplifier, if we could build a better preamp, we would.
Yeah. I think about like computers especially, and we have Moore's law about microprocessors and all that. But even though stuff is still growing and still enhancing, there is definitely this feeling that the technology is not having the same like yearly boost the way that it used to.
Things are getting faster, We're
almost saturated at a level of speed and quality.
Exactly, yeah. So, we find usually every 6 to 7 years there's a big enough change. And we're not the kind of company to say, let's change for change's sake.
Yeah.
There has to be a demonstrable, recognizable, and predictable outcome when you say, okay, this new circuit is actually better, and here's why.
Gotcha.
Right? Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay, so when we're talking about the last 50 years, and we were also talking about this a little bit before we started press and record, but over the last 50 years, and you kind of mentioned this idea that you guys have actually been becoming more of a manufacturer over this period of time.
Yes, very much so.
As opposed to less, which some people might be surprised with that, because usually as companies grow and age, they kind of outsource some of the things that they feel that they can get done cheaper elsewhere or whatever it may be. And we've talked about that, but tell me a little bit about this. So you're manufacturing more now than you have in the past.
Yeah, I would say in the past, ourselves and many other companies of our type in the audio business were really more assemblers. So you would design the product from an engineering standpoint, but you would source out most of the circuit boards, you would source out the metalwork, you would source out the, most of the products that would go into it. You would assemble it, test it, and then sell it into the market. When Ian took over, because he built loudspeakers, he was much more of a manufacturer. So CNC machines, he built the speakers from the ground up. So the wood comes in, the wood becomes a speaker box. The electronics and all that stuff was basically being done in-house, but on a much smaller scale because he was strictly doing speakers. So when we came on board, he basically said, we're going to invest big time in getting machines in lock. Plus COVID hit. Right at that point. And, we'd call up a manufacturer and say, hey, we need some faceplates. And they'd say, call me back in 6 months. Yeah. And we realized that, we're being held captive here. We really are. So there's two advantages. One, we can control the quality level, obviously. And number two, if you need 100 faceplates, we can do 100 faceplates. If you need 4, we can do 4. Yeah. You're not worrying about in terms of, when can I get this? Plus, there's thousands of parts that go into these products, and having all 1,000 of them, let's say, at the same point in the same time in order to build 24 Bs, let's say, that becomes a bit of a juggling act. Where if you're doing everything in-house. So currently we do the faceplates ourselves, we do the chassis, we do the, on the speakers, we do everything, including the drivers, the crossovers. Yeah. So there isn't too much that we have to buy now other than parts.
Sure. Yeah. Some of the raw materials as well.
Raw materials, pieces of metal, that kind of stuff. But everything else we can kind of do. We have our own anechoic chamber for the loudspeakers, which is the same size as the one in Ottawa.
Yeah, it's a copy of the NRC
It's exactly the copy of it, yeah. So we're really a full-fledged manufacturing now company as opposed to an assembler. That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, I love it. And I actually got to experience the Axiom Bryston, I'll say Calhoun Audio manufacturing facility earlier in the summer. And it's expansive. You keep on walking. You go through one room and then you're like, okay, that's big. Oh, that's bigger. And then you get into another room and you're like, oh, that's bigger. And it's like, oh, here's the anechoic chamber. And you're like, okay, cool. Oh, there's upstairs. And you're like, how many rooms does this place have?
Yeah, first time I was there, I was thinking like, where the hell's north?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then not even to mention the fact that you could go out the back door and you see the large tower that that Ian uses for testing, and then there's the RV that's stacked full of like old equipment and stuff that he just can't bear to get rid of.
Exactly, yeah. And he does a lot environmentally. I mean, that's the other thing that we find, that, you know, being able to do it ourselves, you can control the environmental impact of what you're doing. And so the recycling and all that we can do in-house is a big part of what we're doing now as well.
Yeah. And I think what I took from kind of seeing that, like we talked about different things like the finishings and the anodizings and the shot peen finish and kind of the details that go into this. There's a lot to think about. And I mean, I don't expect the average kind of end user to kind of care or to think about that, but you feel that when you hold a quality product, when you hold something that is kind of well thought out and well manufactured, you get that feeling just by experiencing that product.
Right.
And I think it was really cool to see all the stages to kind of give that feeling to those products.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I've looked back over 50 years and I think to myself, it's been great. Like, it's a great industry to be in. And I'll tell you a neat story. I was, this is going back probably 30 years. I was in Singapore at a show. And a young couple came into the room and listened to the system, and we chatted for a bit, and they left. And he owned a Bryston. So that evening, we're sitting in the restaurant, and two booths down were this same couple. So he came up to me and he said, "James, I just live around the corner. Would you guys," it was myself and the distributor, "would you guys be interested in coming to the house?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. We'll go for a coffee." So we go over to this house, and I was sitting down, gave us a coffee, but I was sitting there and I was thinking, he had a pair of, I think they were PMC speakers.
Okay.
And he had a Bryston 4B and a back then, whatever preamp we had, I think it was a 1B. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, you know, shit, I'm halfway around the world. And this guy is just beaming with the fact that he owns this gear and he's showing it off to me, right? So what more can you ask?
I mean, that's really cool.
You're giving people, the ability to listen to music. So, so I always remembered that, and just remembered it as being, really significant in my life in terms of this is where I want to be. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact I hear this from time to time. Doug was driving up to the Calhoun facility.
Yeah.
And stopped at Tim Hortons, and I think he was wearing a Bryston shirt.
Yeah, I remember him telling me that story.
Yeah, and the guy was like, "Bryston?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, the warehouse is just over here." And the guy was like, "Really?"
Yeah.
Like, just amazed and like, "Oh my God, that's so cool."
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I mentioned to you earlier, Jorden, that I play hockey a lot.
Yeah.
And even the guys have a sweater. This is a number of years back, but Brian Russell at a Montreal show, we were doing the show at the same time the Montreal Canadiens were playing in the playoffs. So at the show, he bought me a Bryston hockey sweater with my name on it and number 1, right?
Yeah.
So we play black and white at the odd time in the summertime with the hockey. So I went the white sweater. It has my name on it, and it has Bryston across the front. You wouldn't believe how many other players from the other teams come up to me and say, do you know Bryston? You with Bryston?" Yeah. So there's an example.
I know Bryston. I know a little bit about them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's an example of, I think that, we are known within the industry, but, it's a nice thing to feel that, people are aware of you, right?
Yeah. And appreciate the work.
And appreciate it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we kind of have the 50th anniversary. We have the different products. There is some changes that are happening at Bryston, and specifically, I believe you just announced that changes the warranty, which has been pretty iconic throughout the years. So, walk us through these changes. What's happening?
So the main problem we were having we did a thing where we called it Back to the Future. Yeah. And it was a special program where people could send in their amplifiers, and we would essentially rebuild it for them.
Okay.
And we found it just very, very difficult to get parts, to get the parts we needed in order to redo it. And if we could get the parts, it was very difficult because the pricing was ridiculous in terms of what we could do. So the customer could almost trade in his amp and buy a new one for what it would cost him to update the current one he had. It made no financial sense.
Yeah.
So we just decided, you know what, going forward, come the beginning of this year, if we made the warranty 10 years, there's a really good chance that we could probably continue that warranty going forward for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And when we weren't stuck with, hey, we can't get this part, there's nothing we can do. Sorry, sir. So that was the main impetus for why we did it the way we did it.
Well, and we kind of just talked about this, the idea that technology is still moving like fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody stops making a particular electronic component
Mm-hmm.
and then you get an amp back and that it's, I'm sure you would love to service it, but if that component is no longer available in the market, you can't find it. You might be able to potentially find old new stock, but you can't actually source that part. Are you going to be redesigning circuitry in order to make it?
Well, that's the problem. And you can, we tried to use new parts, okay, well, this capacitor, this inductor, this whatever, but it's not that easy because it changes the circuit. And so it just became the point where we're pretty comfortable that 10 years is something we can live with going forward. I mean, on digital, it's even worse. Typically, we have a 5-year warranty on digital because it changes as we're talking. This, it's crazy. So it's just, and you know what? It's one of those things where when we initiated the 20-year warranty, we were 30 years old.
Yeah.
We'd never charged for a warranty.
Yeah.
It's a number.
Yeah.
But so if somebody comes in with an 11-year-old amp, I'm not going to tell them no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, you're going to take care of the people, obviously.
Exactly. So, but you got to have a number. And we felt 10 years was because if you run into a situation where it gets a little crazy, I'll give you an example. We had a situation where a major recording studio, actually it was a soundstage, closed down and had 80 amplifiers, 80 Bryston amplifiers.
Whoa.
So this guy buys them all and then sends them all to us to be updated. Well, that's you just can't go there.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? So it was one of those things that kind of turned the tide on us. We were trying to think like, that 20 years is great, but 10 years is more reasonable. Yeah. And it's still probably double what most people do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
So with the kind of past and present in check, what's the next 50 years of Bryston look like?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess two things. One, the ability to manufacture in a more efficient way, because we're still learning. Yeah. You're bringing all this stuff in and you're looking at how to optimize the manufacturing process so that you keep the prices down. And the other option would be just looking at the new technologies. Like we're introducing a new Class D amplifier. It has its place in the market. They're still not, in our opinion at least, they're still not as good as a traditional Class AB in terms of transients and that kind of thing. But they're still they're getting better and better every day. So we are looking at the Class D side of the industry in terms of offering amplifiers in that regard. And I guess the rest of it is just the interfacing. You've got preamps now, but it's most of the stuff nowadays is running off software as opposed to running off hardware. So you build the hardware, and then you got the other half of the coin is how do you build the software so that people can feel comfortable using the product. So those are challenges that we have to definitely face going forward.
Interesting. Yeah, I obviously I consider the software side of things, but I didn't really consider that, especially when it comes to amplifiers and preamps and that.
Yeah.
The software aspect of things, how much change or variance is there between different generations of an amplifier in terms of software?
It really comes down to it's the software running the amp or running the preamp. Preamps more so than power amps. Power amps are pretty simple, straightforward, on or off.
Yeah.
Can you, what's the heat? What's going on the output stage? What's the distortion? That kind of thing. But with preamps, it's the interface between the customer and the preamp.
Gotcha.
And he's holding a tablet or he's holding his phone. And it's that interface that becomes far more important than the actual product. It's getting to that point where how I use the product is more important to me than the product itself sometimes. So we have to be looking at that when we design a new product, put it into the market. That's as critical. Where in the old days, what's the noise floor? How much slew rate does it have? Da, 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 da. Now it's like, okay, if I open up my iPad and I click on Bryston, how does that interface work with that
quick
product?
does it spit up?
Yeah, the response time, all that stuff. So it's a 50-50 thing now, as opposed to, before that was the gear. Now it's now the software integration with the gear is as important as the gear itself.
Yeah, there's almost this expectation that the gear is a certain level.
Yep.
And then the surprise and delight for customers is the experience on the kind of interface.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so last time we spoke, we also talked a little bit about your hockey career and how that's still going. So I need an update. Are you still playing 3 days a week? And I should actually mention earlier this morning, you played hockey.
Yes,
that's why we came at this time as opposed to a little bit earlier. So still doing 3 days a week?
Still doing 3 days a week. Yeah. The guys I play with, in Whitby, there's 3 sets of teams. There's a 55 and over, 65 and over, and a 70 over. I'm in the 70 and over group, and there's 8 teams.
There you go.
Available, yeah. So it's nice to still be at it at our age, right?
Well, there was a tournament that was 80 plus or 70 plus?
80.
80 plus.
Yeah.
And when's that happening?
So when you turn 80, a lot of people don't know this. There's an 80 plus tournament. It floats around, but typically it was in Oshawa. This year it's going to be in Whitby. And they basically put you into an 80 Hall of Fame. In Ottawa, they do a little plaque for you, and we play in this game against the U.S. and it's 80 plus, and they give you a uniform the whole bit, and they actually give you 50 cards with your picture of you in the uniform on the card.
Oh, no way.
And your stats on the back. And you can lie about the stats. And so it's kind of pretty cool. So, yeah, that'll be this year. And I think November, we're playing in November.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's close to home.
Yeah, and I turn 80 this year. So,
yeah, when do you turn 80?
October.
Oh, so just in time.
Just in time. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'll be the youngest guy in the team.
Oh, that's amazing. I absolutely love it. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so famous last question.
Yeah.
And let's switch it up. What kind of music are you listening to now? What do you have to offer to our listeners to kind of get a sense of something new or something that you've just refallen in love with?
I'm kind of I would say I tend to be a blues listener a lot. I really enjoy blues and I enjoy folk. One of the things that's really surprised me, I was listening to a blues singer on my computer the other day, and I thought, this is really, really good. I'm going to download this and listen to it at home. So I listened to it, and I thought, boy, this is great. And then I found out after it's AI.
Oh, no way.
I could not believe it.
Really?
So I'm wondering, where do we go from here? Like, as an artist, as the production process, it was really strange in that regard.
So and I know there's this famous band on Spotify where basically this band kind of came out of nowhere and just started blowing up on Spotify. And then it was revealed that, I guess, Spotify basically fabricated this entire band.
Yeah.
Everything, not only...
It's a virtual band.
It's a virtual band. And not only just the music, but also like the album artwork and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And some keen people were looking at the album artwork and they're like, that guy is missing a finger. And that person there, like that's just not possible the way that their body works.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, this entire thing is fake.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, so
what's real and what's fake these days? That's the problem.
Well,
right?
and if you're listening to it and you're enjoying it, does it matter?
Well, I guess that's a good point. And I guess the only thing I could say about the gear we're building, it is real.
Yeah, right?
I could touch it. There's no virtual amplifiers I'm aware of.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like I can touch it. I can experience it in the physical world.
Yeah. But so, and I listen to a little bit of jazz, mainly folk rock, that kind of thing. I'm not really into the rap stuff at all. No. I'm a little too old for that, I guess. But yeah, just a pretty broad stretch and a little bit of classical. But again, I usually listen every morning. Like I'll have my coffee in the morning, come downstairs, listen for half an hour to an hour, and typically it'll be a bluesy kind of thing. Yeah.
Nice. Any artists or any albums that you can shout out?
I could say across the board. Yeah, there's nobody I sort of say, hey, if he puts an album out, I'll buy it.
Okay.
Yeah, and sort of across the board. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think, thank you so much for taking the time. And I think what we should do now is turn this off and listen to some music.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you, James.
Take care. Bye.